The siege of Polaris Prime was supposed to be the Alliance's final battle. Representatives from 100 different worlds had brought everything they had left to this one star system. Orbital defense platforms surrounded the main planet like a steel ring. Quantum mines floated in space ready to destroy any ship that came too close. 300,000 Alliance warships took positions around the system's edge. High Admiral Zen commanded the defense from his flagship, a massive Andromedian vessel called the Starforge. The ship was 3 kilometers long and carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Zen stood on the bridge watching his tactical displays and trying not to show fear to his crew. "All stations report ready, Admiral," announced his tactical officer, a young Rigelian with nervous tentacles. "The Zephyrian fleet has just entered our sensor range." What appeared on their screens made everyone on the bridge go silent. The enemy, Armada, stretched across space like a living nightmare. Over 3 million bioships of every size moved toward them in perfect formation. Small fighters that looked like flying insects buzzed around massive dreadnoughts shaped like sea monsters. At the center of the fleet was the Hegemon itself, a ship so large it looked like a small planet covered in weapons. "Dear ancestors, preserve us," whispered Admiral Zen. "How do we fight something that big?" The battle began when both fleets were still millions of kilometers apart. The Alliance ships fired first, sending waves of quantum torpedoes and plasma beams toward the approaching enemy. The weapons lit up space like fireworks as they tore through the Zephyrian ranks. Dozens of bioships exploded in brilliant flashes of light, but for every enemy ship destroyed, 2 more took its place. The Zephyrian fleet was so vast that losing a few dozen vessels meant nothing. Worse, the bioships began adapting to each type of weapon after only a few hits. Their hulls shifted and changed, growing thicker armor against energy beams and developing new shapes to deflect torpedo attacks. "Sir, our quantum torpedoes are becoming less effective," reported the weapons. "Officer, the enemy ships are evolving defenses faster than we can change our attack patterns." Admiral Zen felt his hope fading as he watched the tactical display. Within the first hour of fighting, the Alliance had lost over 100,000 ships. The orbital defense platforms were being overrun by swarms of Zephyrian boarding craft. The quantum minefields exploded uselessly as the bioships used reality warping technology to simply appear on the other side. "Admiral," called the communications officer suddenly, "we're receiving a transmission from the outer system. It's on a Terran frequency." Zen's heart jumped with hope. Even a few human ships would be better than nothing at this point. "Put it through immediately." The main screen flickered and showed the image of a human in a military uniform. The man sat calmly in what looked like a command chair with stars visible behind him through a large window. His name tag read Morrison, and he wore the insignia of an admiral. "This is Admiral Morrison of the Terran Defense Fleet to all Alliance vessels," the human said in a steady voice. "Please maintain your current positions and prepare to withdraw to minimum safe distance on my signal." Admiral Zen felt confused, but answered quickly. "Admiral Morrison, we appreciate any help you can offer, but I must warn you about what we're facing. The Zephyrian fleet has over 3 million ships. Even if Earth has managed to build a few hundred vessels, it won't be enough to make a difference." Morrison's expression didn't change at all. He looked as calm as if he was discussing the weather instead of the largest space battle in galactic history. "Admiral Zen, you might want to check your long-range sensors. I think you'll find our fleet is somewhat larger than you expected." Across the Alliance fleet, sensor operators began reporting readings that seemed impossible. Ships were appearing throughout the outer system, not just a few hundred, but thousands of them. The numbers kept climbing as more vessels dropped out of some kind of advanced stealth technology that made them invisible to all known detection methods. "Sir," the sensor officer called out with shock in his voice, "I'm reading massive fleet formations throughout the system. The numbers are still climbing. 10,000 ships, 50,000, 100,000. On the bridge of the Zephyrian flagship, Hegemon Supreme Vorthon observed the new development with growing interest. His species had conquered hundreds of worlds and absorbed thousands of different technologies over the centuries. The sudden appearance of such a large fleet from a supposedly primitive world intrigued him greatly. Vorthin didn't speak with his mouth like most species. Instead, he communicated through telepathy that reached every mind on his ship. "Analysis," he commanded, and his thoughts carried the weight of absolute authority. "The vessels appear to be of human construction, Supreme One," reported his chief tactical drone. "Ship configurations are unknown to our databases. Energy signatures unlike anything we have previously encountered in our conquests." "How many ships total?" Vorthon asked, though he was beginning to suspect the answer would surprise him. There was a long pause as the tactical systems processed the sensor data. "Readings indicate approximately 1 million human vessels, Supreme One. The number may be higher as some ships remain difficult to detect." For the first time in over 3 centuries of conquest, Hegemon Supreme Vorthin felt something that might have been surprise. His species had rules the galaxy through superior numbers and adaptive technology. No one had ever matched their fleet strength before. 1 million ships, he repeated. Intelligence reports indicated the humans were a primitive species with limited spaceflight capability. "That appears to have been incorrect information, Supreme One," the drone replied carefully. On the bridge of the UES Defiance, Admiral Morrison watched as his fleet completed its deployment around the Polaris system. The Terran Armada consisted of vessels that had been under construction for over 50 years in hidden shipyards throughout the solar system. Each ship represented the best combination of captured alien technologies and human innovations that no other species had ever imagined. "Fleet deployment complete, Admiral," reported Captain Steve Walsh, Morrison's tactical coordinator. "All ships are at battle stations and awaiting your orders." Morrison nodded calmly. "Signal the Alliance fleet to withdraw to minimum safe distance. We don't want any friendly fire incidents." He paused and looked at his communications officer. "Then, send a message to the Zephyrian commander." "What should the message say, sir?" Morrison's smile was cold enough to freeze space itself. "Tell them that Earth has arrived and the demonstration is about to begin." Throughout the Polaris system, human ships that had been hiding in the darkness suddenly lit up their engines and weapons systems. The Terran fleet moved with precision that spoke of decades of training and preparation. These weren't desperate defenders fighting for their lives. These were professional warriors who had spent their entire careers preparing for exactly this moment. The galaxy was about to learn what humans could accomplish when they really set their minds to something. The first salvo from the Terran Armada changed everything anyone thought they knew about space warfare. Instead of the elegant energy weapons that other civilizations preferred, human ships unleashed something far more primitive and absolutely devastating. Massive chunks of dense metal flew through space at impossible speeds, moving at 30% the speed of light. The effect on the Zephyrian bioships was beyond catastrophic. Their adaptive armor had evolved to handle energy beams and quantum weapons, but no one had prepared them for simple metal traveling faster than most starships could fly. Entire enemy squadrons simply vanished in clouds of superheated plasma when the kinetic projectiles hit them. The humans also fired nuclear warheads that had been enhanced with exotic matter collected from alien wrecks over the decades. When these weapons exploded, they didn't just destroy ships. They erased them from existence, leaving nothing but empty space where massive bio-dreadnoughts had been floating moments before. Aboard the Alliance flagship Starforge, Admiral Zen watched the human attack with his mouth hanging open in amazement. "How are they doing this?" he whispered to his tactical officer. "Those projectiles are moving faster than our sensors can track them." The young Rigelian studied his displays with trembling tentacles. "Admiral, the humans aren't just using superior weapons. Look at their battle formations. It's like they've been studying the Zephyrians for years. They know exactly where to hit for maximum damage." This observation was more accurate than the alien officer realized. On the bridge of the UES Defiance, Admiral Morrison coordinated the assault with the calm precision of someone who had planned this exact scenario countless times. Every human ship captain knew their role perfectly because they had practiced these maneuvers in secret training exercises for decades. "Commander Hayes, deploy Wolverine Squadron against their left flank," Morrison ordered calmly. "Captain Green, I want your dreadnoughts to focus all fire on their command vessels. Remember, we want to break their coordination first." "Admiral," called Dr. Lisa Kane from her science station, "the Zephyrian bioships are attempting to adapt to our kinetic weapons. They're growing thicker armor and changing their hull configurations to deflect impacts." Morrison nodded as if he had expected this development. "Phase 2 then, Colonel Ross, signal all ships to implement the Darwin Protocol. What happened next would be studied in military academies for the next 1,000 years. The human ships suddenly changed their entire approach to the battle. Instead of kinetic weapons, they began using energy types that shouldn't have existed according to known physics. These weapons were based on dimensional science that the Zephyrians had never encountered in all their centuries of conquest. Captain Danny Wright commanded the destroyer UES Relentless, one of the smaller ships in the human fleet. He watched in satisfaction as his quantum phase cannons literally removed enemy vessels from reality itself. The bioships didn't explode or break apart. They simply stopped existing as the weapons folded space around them. "I still can't believe we're actually using this technology in combat," Wright said to his executive officer, Commander Lisa Park. 50 years of research and we finally get to see if it really works." Park smiled grimly as she watched another group of Zephyrian ships disappear from her tactical display. Turns out studying captured alien technology for half a century has some advantages. Plus, we added a few innovations that they never thought possible. The tide of battle shifted so dramatically that it seemed like magic to the watching alliance forces. What had begun as a desperate last stand became a complete rout of the supposedly invincible Zephyrian hegemony. The bioships that had adapted to every other weapon in the galaxy couldn't evolve fast enough to counter human tactics that changed every few minutes. Human ships used weapons that attacked on multiple dimensional levels simultaneously. When the bioships adapted to one type of attack, the humans simply switched to a completely different approach. They had reality-bending cannons, time dilation torpedoes, and gravity weapons that turned the enemy's own mass against them. But the most devastating human weapon wasn't technological at all. It was tactical flexibility. While other species developed one or two preferred fighting styles and stuck with them, humans seemed to have dozens of different approaches they could use depending on the situation. Hegemon Supreme Vorthan watched his armada disintegrate from the bridge of his flagship with growing disbelief. His species had conquered 1,000 worlds by overwhelming their enemies with superior numbers and adaptive technology. No civilization had ever inflicted such massive casualties on Zephyrian forces. Supreme One, his tactical drone reported, with something approaching panic in its artificial voice. "We have lost 70% of our fleet. Our remaining bioships cannot adapt fast enough to counter their changing weapon types." "Impossible," Vorthan replied, but even his telepathic communication carried doubt for the first time in centuries. "No species has ever developed countermeasures for our adaptive capabilities." "Sir," another drone interrupted, "we are receiving a transmission from the human fleet commander." Admiral Morrison's image appeared on the Zephyrian flagship's main display. The human looked completely relaxed, as if commanding 1,000,000 warships in the largest space battle in history was just another day at the office for him. "Hegemon Supreme Vorthan," Morrison said, somehow knowing exactly who he was addressing despite never having met before. "I am Admiral Morrison of the Terran Defense Fleet. You have exactly 2 choices available to you at this moment." Vorthan's rage was so intense that every being on his ship felt the telepathic wave of fury. "You dare offer terms to the hegemony? We have conquered 1,000 civilizations across this galaxy." "And now you've encountered number 1001, Morrison replied with the same calm tone. "The difference is, we've been preparing specifically for you. Every tactic you've used in the past 50 years, every weapon system in your arsenal, every biological adaptation your ships can make. We've studied all of it and developed specific countermeasures." As if to prove his point, another wave of human ships dropped out of stealth throughout the star system. The Terran fleet wasn't just large, it was massive beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. Over 2 million vessels of various classes, each one representing technologies that made other civilizations look primitive by comparison. "This isn't just a battle, Hegemon," Morrison continued. "It's a clinical demonstration of why you should have left humanity alone. We don't just react to threats. We prepare for them decades in advance." The human admiral gestured to something Off-screen and new weapon signatures appeared on Zephyrian sensors. These readings showed energy levels that should have been impossible to generate or control safely. Your first choice is to withdraw all your forces from occupied territories immediately and return to your home systems, Morrison explained. Your second choice is to face complete annihilation. We have weapons you haven't seen yet, and frankly, I'd prefer not to use them. Vorthon tried to project confidence through his telepathic communication, but his own tactical officers could sense his growing fear. What makes you think your primitive species can threaten the might of the hegemony? Morrison's smile was colder than the space between galaxies. Because we're not primitive, hegemon. We're focused. While you were conquering worlds, we were learning how to stop you. While you were adapting to old threats, we were preparing for new ones. The human admiral paused and looked directly into the camera, as if he could see through it to Vorthon himself. Choose quickly, hegemon. My patience has limits, and my fleet has orders to finish this one way or another. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council Station floated in space between three bright stars. Inside the massive building, beings from hundreds of different worlds sat in their special chairs and talked in worried voices. The air smelled strange, because so many different types of aliens breathed different gases. Some had 4 arms, others had tentacles, and a few looked like walking crystals that made musical sounds when they moved. Ambassador Krell stood at the center of the room. He was tall and blue, with 4 arms that moved as he spoke. His people came from a world called Andromeda 7, and they had been part of the galactic community for over 1,000 years. Today his voice carried anger and disappointment as he looked around at all the other ambassadors. We called this meeting because our galaxy faces the worst threat we have ever seen, Krell said loudly so everyone could hear him. The Zephyrian hegemony grows stronger every day. They have already taken 17 star systems. They turn whole planets into slave camps and use the people to build more warships. Soon they will come for all of us. The room buzzed with worried whispers. The cetacean ambassador clicked his approval with sounds that came from his blowhole. The crystal beings from Zerion made sad musical notes that filled the air. Everyone knew Krell spoke the truth about the Zephyrians. 3 months ago we sent messages to every world asking for help, Krell continued. Most of you answered our call and brought your war fleets here, but one world stays silent. One world ignores our desperate need for help. He paused and looked around the room. The humans of Earth have not answered us. A wave of angry sounds filled the hall. Prime Minister Thale from Rigel waved her tentacles in frustration. Her skin changed from green to red, which meant she felt very upset. The humans promised to help us if we ever faced a galaxy-wide threat. Where are they now when we need them most? High Admiral Zen of the Tau Ceti Defense Force stood up from his seat. He was a warrior who had fought in many space battles. Scars covered his gray skin, and his 6 eyes glowed with frustration. My scouts report that Earth appears completely normal. Their cities still have lights at night. Their spaceships still move between their planets. But they do not answer our calls for help. Maybe they are too scared to fight, suggested General Mora of the Capellan system. Her people looked like large lizards covered in green scales. The Zephyrians have weapons that can destroy entire planets. Perhaps the humans know they cannot win against such power. Ambassador Krell shook his head. I do not think they are scared. I think they believe they are too good to help us. The humans always acted like they were special. They joined our council only 50 years ago, but they acted like they knew everything. Dr. Voss from the Procyon Research Station projected images in the air above their heads. The pictures showed Earth as it looked from space. Blue oceans, white clouds, and green lands covered the planet. Everything looked peaceful and quiet. Our long-range sensors show no unusual military activity around Earth. No big fleets gathering. No weapons being built. They seem to be doing nothing at all. Doing nothing while we prepare to die, said Commander Flux, whose people lived on a world made of living metal. His voice sounded like grinding gears. How can they be so cold and selfish? High Admiral Zen activated his tactical display. Holographic images filled the center of the room, showing star maps with red markers. Each red dot represented a Zephyrian fleet position. "Look at this," he said grimly. "The enemy has over 2 million warships. Our combined fleets from all our worlds total only 800,000 vessels. We need every ship we can get." The numbers made everyone feel afraid. Even their combined forces looked small compared to the Zephyrian armada. The enemy ships could change their shape and adapt to any weapon used against them. Their technology seemed almost alive, growing stronger after each battle. "What kind of weapons do the humans have?" asked the representative from Vega. "Are their ships strong enough to make a difference?" Ambassador Krell pulled up files about Earth's military. "Human ships are primitive compared to ours. They still use metal hulls instead of living bioarmor. Their weapons shoot simple energy beams instead of reality-bending quantum disruptors. Honestly, I do not think they could survive even one battle against the Zephyrians." "Then maybe it is better that they stay away," General Mora said with a snort. "Weak ships would just get in our way and give the enemy easy targets to destroy." Prime Minister Thales' tentacles twisted into knots of anger. "No. It is the principle that matters. When civilized beings face extinction, everyone must help. The humans show they have no honor by hiding while we prepare to die." The debate continued for hours. Some aliens thought Earth was too scared to fight. Others believed the humans were too proud to take orders from the Council. A few suggested that maybe Earth had already fallen to the Zephyrians in secret, which would explain the silence. Deep in space, far from the Council station, a small probe watched everything through the windows. The device was so tiny and well hidden that none of the advanced alien sensors could detect it. It recorded every word spoken in the meeting hall and every image shown on the displays. When the meeting finally ended with no solution, the probe quietly flew away from the station. It moved through space faster than light, heading toward a small yellow star on the edge of the galaxy. The star looked ordinary and unimportant compared to the bright giants near the galactic center. The probe's destination was the third planet from that yellow star, a blue and green world called Earth. The probe reached Earth 3 days after leaving the Council station. It slowed down as it entered the solar system and flew past the outer planets. Jupiter looked massive with its red spot spinning like a giant eye. Saturn's rings sparkled in the sunlight. Everything seemed normal and peaceful, just like the aliens at the Council had said. The probe headed for Earth's moon and found a hidden base built inside an old crater. The base looked like a simple mining operation from the outside, but inside, it held the most advanced technology in the solar system. Commander Ryan Tucker sat in the control room watching dozens of screens that showed events happening all across the galaxy. "Sir, the probe is back," called Lieutenant Amy Foster from her station. She was young with short brown hair and quick fingers that danced across her control panel. It recorded the entire council meeting. Tucker nodded and watched as the probe's memory downloaded onto the main screen. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes that had seen too many battles. For 15 years, he had run Earth's secret intelligence network, and he knew more about galactic politics than most aliens who lived in the council chambers. "Show me what they said about us," Tucker ordered. The recording played on the screen. Tucker and his team listened as Ambassador Krell called humans cowards and primitives. They heard General Mora suggest that Earth's ships would just get in the way. They watched as alien after alien mocked humanity's silence and questioned their honor. "Well, that's about what we expected," said Captain Steve Walsh, Tucker's second in command. Walsh was shorter than Tucker but built like a fighter. His hands showed scars from years of working on spaceships before he joined intelligence. "They still think we're barely past throwing rocks at each other." Lieutenant Foster looked angry as she listened to the aliens insult her people. "Sir, shouldn't we tell them the truth? Show them what we've really been building?" Tucker shook his head. "Not yet, Lieutenant. Let them keep thinking what they want to think. Sometimes being underestimated is the best advantage you can have." On the main screen, new reports came in from the war zone. The Zephyrian attack had begun just as everyone feared. Their bioships appeared at the edge of the Vega system like a dark cloud of death. The first battle lasted only 6 hours. The vegan defense fleet fought bravely, but they never had a chance against such overwhelming numbers. The alien ships looked like giant insects or sea creatures instead of normal spaceships. They could change their shape during battle, and adapt to any weapon used against them. When the defenders shot energy beams, the bioships grew thick armor that reflected the attacks. When they tried quantum torpedoes, the enemy ships split apart and reformed like living liquid. "Look at this footage," Walsh said as he pulled up battle recordings. "The Zephyrians aren't just conquering these worlds, they're consuming them. They drain all the resources and use the populations as slaves to build more ships." Tucker studied the images of Zephyrian bioships feeding on defeated planets. The aliens used some kind of technology that could absorb both materials and life energy. Every conquered world made their fleets stronger and bigger. "How many ships do our observers count now?" "Over 3 million and growing," Foster replied. "They're moving faster than anyone predicted. At this rate, they'll reach the core worlds in less than 6 months." Meanwhile, on Earth's surface, the final preparations for humanity's real plan continued in secret. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, massive shipyards that had been hidden for decades hummed with activity. The construction bays were so large that entire cities could fit inside them. Thousands of workers moved like ants as they put finishing touches on the greatest fleet ever built. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of his flagship and watched as squadron after squadron of human warships emerged from their underwater hiding places. These ships looked nothing like the elegant vessels preferred by other galactic civilizations. They were angular and brutal, built for one purpose only: winning wars. The humans had spent 50 years preparing for this moment. Ever since they first detected alien radio signals, Earth's governments had worked together on a secret project. While the galaxy thought humans were primitive, they had actually been studying every alien technology they could find and building something far beyond what anyone imagined. "Admiral, the fleet commanders are requesting their final orders," said Colonel Nina Ross, Morrison's chief of staff. She was a small woman with sharp eyes who never missed any detail. Her job was to coordinate the massive operation that would soon change galactic history forever. "Tell them to wait," Morrison replied calmly. "We move when I decide we move, not before." Dr. Lisa Kane joined them on the observation deck. She carried data pads filled with intelligence reports about alien psychology and military tactics. Kane had spent 20 years studying how different species thought and fought. Her research would be crucial to the coming battle. "The psychological profile is fascinating," Kane said as she reviewed her notes. "Every species in the galaxy makes the same mistake. They think advanced technology automatically makes you a better fighter. They've forgotten that war is about more than just having the best weapons." "What else matters?" asked Colonel Ross. "The will to fight," Morrison answered before Kane could speak. "They're fighting to protect what they already have. We're fighting for our right to exist as a free species. That makes all the difference." Back in space, the Galactic Alliance was falling apart faster than anyone expected. After Vega fell, the Zephyrians moved on to the Betelgeuse system. The defenders there lasted 3 days before their fleet was completely destroyed. Then came Altair, then Procyon. Each victory made the bioships stronger and more numerous. Panic spread through the remaining Alliance worlds. Billions of refugees filled the space lanes trying to escape the advancing enemy. Their ships crashed into each other as desperate families fled toward the galactic core. Many died not from Zephyrian weapons but from the chaos of their own retreat. Ambassador Krell, now evacuated to a mobile command station, sent another message toward Earth. His voice sounded tired and desperate as he spoke to the recording device. "Humans of Terra, the galaxy burns while you remain silent. If you have any honor left, you will answer our call. The Zephyrians will not stop with us. Eventually they will come for you too." The message traveled through space and reached Terra Station near Earth's moon. The communications officer recorded it and filed it away with thousands of other desperate pleas for help. Earth's official response, as always, was complete silence. But in the hidden command centers beneath the Pacific Ocean, Admiral Morrison smiled as he read the latest intelligence reports. Everything was proceeding exactly according to plan. The Zephyrian retreat happened faster than anyone thought possible. Within 6 hours of Admiral Morrison's ultimatum, Hegemon Supreme Vorthan ordered his remaining forces to abandon all their conquered territories and flee toward the galactic rim. The bioships that had seemed so terrifying just days before now ran like frightened animals from the human fleet. The speed of their withdrawal left a power vacuum across dozens of star systems. Planets that had been under Zephyrian control for months suddenly found themselves free but defenseless. The alien slave camps were abandoned so quickly that millions of beings were left stranded without food, water, or transportation off their devastated worlds. 3 days after the battle, Admiral Morrison found himself aboard the Alliance flagship, Starforge, sitting at a conference table with alien dignitaries who looked at him with mixtures of awe, fear, and embarrassment. The meeting room that had once been filled with desperate war planning now hosted discussions about rebuilding the galaxy. Ambassador Krell, who had mocked Earth's absence so recently, now struggled to find the right words. His 4 blue arms moved nervously as he spoke. Admiral Morrison, on behalf of the entire Galactic Alliance, I must express our deepest gratitude for your intervention. Without human help, we would all be dead or enslaved by now. Morrison nodded politely, but his expression remained neutral. Ambassador, I appreciate your thanks, but let's be honest about what happened here. You didn't call for help because you valued human assistance. You called because you were desperate and running out of options. The uncomfortable silence that followed Morrison's words made it clear that everyone in the room understood the truth of his statement. Dr. Lisa Kane, who had accompanied Morrison to the meeting, decided to address the obvious question that no one wanted to ask directly. I think what everyone really wants to know, Kane said with a slight smile, is how a species you considered primitive managed to build the most advanced fleet in galactic history. High Admiral Zen leaned forward in his chair, his 6 eyes focused intently on the humans. Dr. Kane, your ships use technologies we've never encountered before. Dimensional phase weapons, reality warping systems, kinetic projectiles at relativistic speeds. Where did these innovations come from? From watching you, Morrison replied simply. All of you. For the past 70 years, ever since we detected your first radio transmissions, humanity has been observing the galaxy. We've recorded your wars, analyzed your technologies, and learned from both your successes and your failures. Kane activated a holographic display that showed a timeline of galactic conflicts stretching back decades. Every battle the Zephyrians fought, every species they conquered, every adaptation their bioships made. We recorded all of it through hidden observation posts and stealth probes that your sensors couldn't detect. Prime Minister Thale of the Rigelian Collective waved her tentacles in confusion. But why spend so much effort preparing for threats you might never face? Why not simply join the galactic community peacefully like most species do? Morrison's expression grew more serious. Because we learned something about the galaxy that apparently escaped everyone else's attention. This isn't a peaceful neighborhood. Civilizations rise and fall constantly. Empires expand and collapse on a regular basis. There's always someone looking to take what belongs to others. General Mora of the Capellan Marines, her warrior instincts recognizing a fellow predator, asked the question that made everyone else nervous. Admiral Morrison, exactly how large is the human military? What we saw at Polaris Prime was impressive, but was that your entire fleet? Morrison smiled slightly, and somehow that expression was more frightening than any angry glare could have been. General, what you witnessed was our expeditionary force. The home defense fleet is considerably larger than what participated in the battle. The implications of that statement sent waves of shock through the assembled delegates. If 2 million ships constituted only an expeditionary force, what did that reveal about Earth's total military capability? How many ships did humans actually possess? Admiral, Ambassador Krell said very carefully, what does Earth want from the rest of the galaxy? What are your intentions regarding our worlds and governments? The same thing every intelligent species wants, Morrison replied. Security for our people, prosperity for our civilization, and the freedom to exist without constant fear of conquest or extinction. The difference is that we're prepared to guarantee those things for ourselves and our genuine allies. Over the following months, the galactic political structure transformed completely. The territories liberated from Zephyrian control were returned to their original inhabitants, but now they operated under mutual defense agreements with Earth. Human technological innovations began flowing to allied worlds, but only after careful screening to ensure the recipients could handle the responsibility. Captain Steve Walsh, promoted to admiral and commanding the new Terran embassy fleet, established humanity's first official diplomatic mission on the neutral world of Centaurus Prime. The embassy building was a marvel of human engineering, but more importantly, it served as a visible reminder of Earth's newfound influence. "Sir," Commander Amy Foster reported to Walsh from her position as his chief of staff, "we're receiving requests for defensive partnerships from 23 more star systems this week. Word about our capabilities is spreading faster than we anticipated." Walsh reviewed the requests on his datapad while standing in his office overlooking the embassy's main plaza. Below, beings from dozens of different worlds waited in lines to meet with human representatives. "Process them through our standard evaluation procedures, but make sure our intelligence division continues monitoring the Outer Rim territories." Dr. Kane, now serving as Earth's first official ambassador to the reformed Galactic Council, addressed the assembly in chambers that had been rebuilt to accommodate human representatives. The room that had once echoed with desperate pleas for help now hosted discussions about mutual cooperation and shared defense. "The galaxy mocked our absence during your time of greatest need," Kane said, looking around at the hundreds of alien faces watching her. "But perhaps that absence was exactly what the galaxy required. While you focused on building civilizations, we concentrated on developing the tools to defend them. While you pursued knowledge and culture, we pursued security and preparedness." She paused to let her words sink in before continuing. "Now we can pursue all these goals together, as genuine partners rather than desperate supplicants." Admiral Morrison, monitoring the proceedings from Earth through quantum communication links, turned to his aide Colonel Nina Ross. "What's the current status of our deep space monitoring network?" "Fully operational across all major star systems, sir," Ross replied efficiently. "If anything similar to the Zephyrian threat emerges in the future, we'll detect it decades before it becomes a serious problem." Morrison nodded with satisfaction. "Excellent. The galaxy spent years laughing at the idea of primitive humans joining their cosmic community. Now they understand that sometimes the most effective defense is being so overwhelmingly prepared that no rational enemy would dare test your resolve." As human ships began regular patrols of the major space lanes and Earth's technology revolutionized galactic civilization, one fundamental truth became clear to every species in the known universe. They had not simply gained a new member of their cosmic community. They had gained its protector and guardian. The galaxy had mocked Earth's absence during their darkest hour, but they would never again make the mistake of underestimating humanity's capabilities or resolve. The age of human influence had begun not through conquest or domination, but through the demonstration that some species were simply better prepared for the realities of a dangerous universe. In the depths of space, human sensor networks maintained their eternal vigilance, ensuring that the galaxy's future laughter would come from joy and security, rather than ignorance and false confidence.